Greetings everyone and welcome to Dave Daring Blitz. Today's video is all about mobile controls and mobile graphics. These are settings that can actually improve your gameplay when you're on a mobile device, especially. Depending on the type of device that you are playing on, I'm playing on an iPad Pro. It's the 4th Gen iPad Pro, and even with a device like that, I don't have everything set to high in the max for all of the settings because I find that the game can be stuttery depending on what's going on in the game. Like, sure, it might load into the game fine, everything looks all good, but as soon as you get into a intense battle situation where there's a bunch of tanks taking hits and are in the frame at the same time, especially in game modes, stuff can get a little wonky. So what you want to do is go into graphics quality and set it to manual at the top here. And then you're going to be able to set everything else as needed. I don't have the water quality set to high. It's an unfortunate thing because the water does look really good, especially when your tank drives into the water, but having that at medium makes things better because if you're viewing a lot of water at the same time, that's a lot of the frame that is moving around. So I set that to medium. I want to be able to see as far as possible though, so I keep the object and terrain quality, the tank quality at high. Another thing I do is I change the effects quality to low, so less of tanks when they are taken out of the game, when they are on fire. It's not this ginormous fire that is making the screen jump. So I keep the effects quality to low. The draw distance, because I want to see as far as possible, I set that to high. So I'm setting things to high that I need for the gameplay as much as possible. So I want to see the tanks at high quality. I want to see the draw distance at high quality. And some of these other things you can adjust lower and, go into a training room or play a tier that you don't care about losing and you're more like moving the screen around as fast as possible, you're driving fast, all that stuff is what you can do to test out these graphics settings. The other thing I do is I set the fog quality to low. It actually enhances the distance that you can see, but if you turn it to ultra low, things just kind of start to look retro. So I do have some of the fog quality on, so that's this low setting here. The anisotropic filtering, I set that to no. I've tried setting it at 2 times or 4 times. I couldn't really see a difference in the gameplay too much. So since it wasn't like enhancing anything for me, I just turned it off because that's less that the CPU and graphics processing unit of the iPad has to deal with. Same thing with the full screen anti-aliasing. Set that to no. What I do want though, if your device supports it, set the frames per second as high as you possibly can. So I have that as 120. For me, I have the flora quality as off. Because that's off, the grass in aiming mode at the bottom left is also automatically set to off. So if you do have the flora on, at least have the grass in aiming mode off, because then you'll actually be able to see the ridge lines and you won't see grass blades swinging back and forth when you're trying to shoot. So definitely keep that off. The next thing is shadows display. The shadows do look really great in the game and help enhance the overall realism of the game. However, my device, for whatever reason, just suffers when the shadows display is on. And low just kind of looks blocky, and medium or high just started to affect the gameplay, so I just set the shadows display to off. And lower resolution, I set that off. I don't want the game to adjust based on what's happening in the battle. Like I don't want that. I want a consistent viewing experience the whole time, so I have that off. Another thing that I have off is the track traces. To me, it's like your tank is driving, you see the track traces, and then they slowly disappear behind it. To me, it always kind of looked weird, and it's something else that the processing unit has to deal with, so I set that off as well. What I do keep on though are the shell hit marks and the HD textures and the suspension. What I would recommend starting with is the frames per second, and then tank quality high, draw distance high, and then after that HD textures high. And then you're going to play around with everything else to see what your device can handle and what you want the game to look like. So that's a lot for graphics, but it's really important in helping your gameplay be consistent when there's a lot of tanks and a lot of action going on. And the way to really test this is to hop into a game, preferably in a light tank that's going to be fast. Drive around some stuff, look around quickly at your environment, zoom in, zoom out, do all those things kind of in relative quick succession and see how your device performs. And if you see any bit of jumpiness, come back into here and lower some other settings that are going on. Alright, so that is the graphics quality. The next thing I want to talk on is the HUD. And typically the A-shaped is what is default checked on, but I personally like the aim point because it kind of shows this vertical bar in the very center here will be like this if your tank turret is tilted that way, with your whole hull being like that. So it gives you a little bit more information in your controls. I have the second fire button available in case I want to use it. I keep the reverse zoom on. I find that when I'm backing up, I like to be able to see that extra bit of information when the camera zooms out. Another thing is the ammo bar remains in expanded state after switching shell type in battle. If you don't have that on, when you open up your shells, once you select a new shell type, it closes back up, which means if you want to switch shells quickly, you have to first open the thing and then select your shell type again. So with the ammo bar remaining on, at the beginning of the battle, you open it up and then you're all set, ready to go. That's a big time saver and helps you get out those high explosive shells. Or if you're on a high explosive shell thinking you can get a shot, you can quickly switch back to your standard ammunition if it ends up that the enemy tank that you're facing at no longer is giving you a solid high explosive target. I leave the joystick sensitivity at 100%, but a big thing here is the camera sensitivity. You see I have that way down. When I'm looking around, I don't want a slight movement in my aim to move where I'm aiming very quickly in a different part of the tank. Sliding it down a lot enables more fine tuning and stuff isn't like jumping around all over the place. I kind of wish there was a camera sensitivity difference between zoomed in versus not zoomed in, but definitely play with that camera sensitivity. It's not something that I really played around with until maybe a year ago. I was really looking at the camera sensitivity, but it is definitely worthwhile looking at. Try it out. And the last thing is put on the auto aim width button. Definitely have the width button because then you can set when you are wanting to do the aiming yourself or using the auto aim feature. But that's a really important thing that mobile players definitely need to take advantage of. And the other thing is make sure you have the lookout area on. It's right here, this ruler thing. Definitely have the lookout area on because that is also very helpful to have on and be able to look around without turning your turret. Very, very key to have on. And we're going to look at that in the couple battles that we're going to do. The last thing that you can do as a mobile player is something just feels off about the matchmaker. You have a little bit of influence here. You can set same control mode to be on, which means only other people that are on a touch device, you're only going to be fighting those players. Having this off means you will be in some battles with PC players. And it's important to note that this same control mode being on doesn't have any effect if you are platooning with somebody who is on a PC. And if you have this off, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get into any battles with only touch players, because other touch players may have this selected on. Now, all of that can really affect your gameplay, because if your graphics settings are good, you're going to have smooth battle experience. You're not going to get any stuttering, especially in those key intense moments of a battle. You don't want that happening. And if you have your controls set up the right way, you can do certain things that you otherwise would not be able to do. So we're going to do a test battle here so we can take a look at this. Alright, so the reason I'm in the Astron Rex for this game is because it's got 3 shells, so we may be able to use the auto aim targeting that is going on. So one of the things that we set is this ammo tray. As soon as the battle loads, I open that up, and then no matter if I'm switching shells, it is staying up. Alright, let's put our first shell into this Type 59. Let me turn off auto aim, so even though he is backing up, I'm able to put my aim shell above the ridge line so that if he's backing up, at least my shell won't go into the ridge line. That's an important part about having the auto aim. When a tank is in your view, but then they're backing up or they're driving toward a ridge line or driving towards being behind a building, you can put your aim circle in a place to guarantee that at least when you fire, you're not going to hit the ridge line, which is really important. Alright, let's hit this guy there, turn off the auto aim, just keep our aim circle above the ridge line, and we are good to go. Dun dun dun. Alright, for these last 2 guys, I'm going to show you something here. So I'm going to put my aim onto the RHMB, and then just now put my thumb on the lookout area. You can see that my turret is still aiming at that thing, and even if I'm looking away, if I go and hit the zoom, it puts the camera angle back at where my gun is aiming at, which is really key as well with using the lookout area. We're going to do another battle and hope to look at that lookout area a bit more. Doing these 2 things with your control layout can really help your gameplay here. Alrighty, so this battle we're going to try to be focusing on what you can do with the lookout area. And if the situation arises, I can also talk about the auto aim button again. We're going to try to look at the lookout area. So obviously I opened up my ammo rack tray so that it's open and set for the game. One thing that you want to do in crossings like this in a medium tank, you don't want to mess up how you're driving. So what you can do, you can look over to the right or look over towards where tanks may be coming, and then you put your thumb on the lookout area, and that keeps your turret in the direction to avoid getting hit. Now, if I wasn't like talking and explaining all that, I could have potentially gotten a shot onto the T-49 before actually doing that. Let's get a second shell into him, and hopefully a third one. Oh, see that? Well, that was a potential where I could have turned off auto aim, but I really didn't think that that last shell was going to miss. Alright, so again, I can be looking that way and then using the lookout area to decide how I'm going to be driving the tank. Alright, and I want to reiterate this as much as possible during this battle, but you can turn your tank turret where you want to be blocking shots or have your shell ready, and then use your lookout area to make sure you're still driving in a good position. This is what a lot of people don't necessarily do. And on that map, Port Bay, that typical river, medium, or in light crossing, you really want to do that. Set up your turret to look at where the enemy team may be appearing. Use your lookout area to plot the right path across the river, and then hit that zoom button as soon as you're ready to get your position right back where your gun was aiming so that you can be ready to fire at the enemy. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed today's video looking at the more technical aspects of mobile gameplay, looking at graphic settings, control settings, and just things you can do with the auto aim button, turning that off, and the lookout area. Please consider smashing that subscribe button if you appreciated this video and want to stay up to date with other video content like this, as well as being notified when I go live, which is typically on Thursday evenings right now. And until next time, y'all, have a good one. Take care.